It was the greatest defeat suffered by the English colonists prior to the French and Indian War. It occurred at America's oldest city, St. Augustine.
When tourists travel to Spain's once powerful North American empire, St. Augustine, Florida's Castillo de San Marco is the premier attraction. It is a massive and imposing fortress built to guard Spain's northern flank in North America. Although attacked many times, it was never stormed nor taken. Using this impregnable fortress, Hispanic Governor Manuel de Montillano was able to protect Spanish Florida from English conquest during the wars of the 18th century. The Castillo de San Marco was built by Indian laborers, Hispanic soldiers, and colonists, and completed in 1687. A marvel of engineering, it was constructed from the tough, thick coquino stone found in the area. Indeed, so strong was its construction that English cannons could not breach its walls. And its strategic placement on the peninsula, guarding St. Augustine's harbor, made it possible for Florida's Hispanic governors to keep the Spanish Empire's northern flank secure in the first two-thirds of the 18th century. In 1700, Spain competed with France and England for control of the North American continent. She held Florida, Mexico, and parts of present-day Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California. France occupied eastern Canada and controlled the Mississippi River. England ruled a narrow strip of land along the Atlantic seaboard from New England to Carolina. For 200 years, the Atlantic Ocean had served to keep Spain's North American colonies out of European conflicts. But with the coming of the 18th century, that would no longer be the case. Beginning with Queen Anne's War in 1702, Florida's governors would be forced to protect Spanish interests. Also known as the War of the Spanish Succession, the conflict began in Europe when Francis Louis XIV placed his grandson, Philip of Anjou, on the throne of Spain. The war quickly spread to North America because of Spain's slave sanctuary policy, which allowed all escaped slaves who reached Florida to become free. In December 1702, 1,000 Carolinians attacked St. Augustine to stop this policy. During the 1702 attack, the Spanish governor, José de Zúñiga y Seda, brought the townspeople and supplies into Castillo de San Marco. Though the English burned the city and destroyed the Franciscan missions, the townspeople were safe, and the colonists' plans to seize Florida were thwarted. From then on, Spain would militarily protect its North American colonies by relying on St. Augustine's massive fort to guard Florida. This strategy was justified 25 years later in the War of Jenkins' Ear. The war began in 1738 when Captain Robert Jenkins, one of the many English traders who smuggled goods into Spanish-controlled South America and Florida, was caught and his ear removed as a warning to other trespassers. In June 1740, American colonists under the command of General James Oglethorpe, Georgia's founder, attacked St. Augustine. They would have been successful except for the far-seeing vision of then-Governor Manuel de Montillano. Montillano had eagerly enforced the slave sanctuary policy, angering slaveholders, particularly in South Carolina. Indeed, in 1738, he founded Fort Mose, the first free black community in the United States near St. Augustine. It was to this sanctuary that the leader of South Carolina's 1739 Stono Slave Rebellion was taking his people. These former black slaves had also formed their own militia, led by an escaped Carolina slave, Francisco Menendez. In June of 1740, Oglethorpe's army attacked St. Augustine and captured Fort Mose. Then on June 26, 1740, under the direction of Governor Manuel de Montillano, a force of Spanish regulars, dragoons, blacks, Indians, convicts, and urban militia led by Captain Menendez counterattacked, killing or capturing all but 24 of the invaders. Soon the siege of St. Augustine and the Castillo was over. The War of Jenkins' Ear ended in 1742, but hostilities between Spain and England in North America would continue. In 1756, the French and Indian War would once again pit England against France. In 1762, Spain entered the war on the side of France. And as a result, when France was defeated, Spain lost Florida in the 1763 Treaty of Paris, ending the war. In return, England gave back Cuba, taken in 1762, and recognized Spain's control of New Orleans and Upper and Lower Louisiana, west of the Mississippi. Oddly, Spain returned to Florida at the end of America's Revolutionary War, when, as an ally of the United States against the British, she regained her most prized possession, St. Augustine, and the fort, Castillo de San Marco, only to have it ceded to the United States in 1819.